All right, so today we're going to do, remember the drawing of the cube that we did and we shaded the cube? We're going to do a drawing of a cube, but we're going to do it because we are learning perspective this time around, not because we're drawing a cube. We're going to draw it above the horizon line, at the horizon line, and below the horizon line, because the appearance of the cube will change depending on your viewpoint. So this is, we're gonna start. I'm holding the paper the long way, the landscape format here. And I'm gonna use my little ruler here. And I'm gonna go down about, from the top of the paper, show you the top, about halfway down. It doesn't matter if it's not like perfectly halfway or whatever, just halfway down the best you can and make a little mark. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show it on a clean piece here. I'm gonna line up my little paper ruler. So the top of that is lined up with the top of my drawing paper, and just copy that mark on my little paper ruler right here. So that this measurement right here, this length, is copied onto my paper ruler. Then I'm going to take it to the other side, and I'm just going to copy that mark on the opposite side of my paper. Then I'm going to line up my little paper ruler and connect the two tick marks. So I should have a nice straight level horizon line. So I hope everybody can see that line. This is not the best camera. Okay. To the right of center, not right in the center, but to the right side of it. If this is the center, go about halfway across to the right and put a dot. So it's basically 3/4 of the way across. Closer to the right side, I want you to put a black dot, and that's going to be VP1. And that's vanishing point 1. So let's label this 1 point perspective. With cubes. Okay, with cubes. All we're drawing is cubes today. This line is called the horizon line, and it's also called your eye level. So horizon line is the same as eye level. Is the eye level different on every person? Yes. So it depends on who's looking. Whether the horizon line, moves up or down, it's a little different for everybody because everyone's a different, slightly different height, or a lot different from each other, depends. So let's put our sun over here in the upper right hand corner, and let's just let that be our light source. Okay. Make sure you have a nice sharp pencil. Decent one here, just a number 2 pencil.
Miss Han?
Yes?
Mechanical pencils are okay too, right?
Yes, they are okay. Any kind of pencil is okay. So right on the horizon line right here, how about we put it slightly to the left side of the paper? I'm just going to freehand draw, just very, very lightly. I'm going to draw a square. It could be a rectangle, it doesn't have to be a perfect square. So we are learning 1 point perspective journey. So you need to get your sketchbook, your pencil, your erasers out. I just made a ruler out of another piece of paper. I folded it basically in half. I made sure I really creased it sharp with my fingernail here. And then I folded it again in order to use that like a straight edge. If you don't have a ruler. If you have a ruler, get your ruler out. Yep. So then I drew a horizon line about halfway down. It could be a little less than halfway down the paper. Drew my sun on the upper right hand corner and wrote horizon line eye level on this left side. On the top corner, I wrote 1 point perspective with cubes. So all we're going to do for the next 3 days is going to draw cubes in 1-point, 2-point, and 3-point perspective and learn about those 3 perspectives. And because perspective is our next unit of study. And what we're slowly going to work up to is to draw our dream room. We're going to be drawing our dream interior. We could call it interior. It sounds a little bit more professional. We're going to be drawing a dream interior. It could be a bedroom. It could be the inside of a restaurant. It could be a living room or dining room, whatever you want. But we're going to draw it in correct perspective. So we're practicing to get good at perspective. So what I did right here was to draw half of my rectangle or square. It's more of a rectangle because it's not perfect. Anything that's not a perfect square is called a rectangle. Is going to be half of it's above the line, half of it's below the line. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is just go over my lines with a nice straight line using my little paper ruler. See? Okay, Kayla. So it's nice and straight. Paper is strong enough so that I could put my pencil right up against there and get a nice straight line. Okay? So I'm making my lines extra dark. Now I could just take a kneaded eraser or just a regular eraser, and when I erase, it's just going to erase my lighter lines and leave behind my really dark lines. Okay? That's a little trick. Just press hard, and then those lines are harder to erase, so they're going to stay behind. I want you to go to this line right here that makes up the right side of your rectangle or square. And I want you to put a dot at the top and a dot at the bottom, right there, okay? And I want you to draw some very light vanishing point lines, light, to vanishing point 1, which is right over here. This is vanishing point 1. And if you're just coming in, vanishing point 1 is more like on the right half of the paper. It's over here, it's not in the center. And it's on the horizon line. So let's draw those very light lines from those 2 dots. Have them go to vanishing point 1. Okay. Okay, by the end of the day Friday, you're going to be posting these. So you should be following along and I will grade them. Now what we're going to do is we need to draw the back of this cube. So I can end it anywhere, but I don't want it to look skinny. I want it to kind of look more like a cube. So I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. I'm going to make a line right over there. Okay, that kind of makes it look like a box, right? So then I'm going to go over my light sketch line with a darker, more permanent line like that. Okay, and then I'm going to erase all the lines on the inside here because I don't want this box to look, I don't want it to look like it's a see-through box. Okay, if you want to, you can just lighten up the vanishing point lines or just make them kind of dotted lines. I think I'm going to make them dotted lines. So these are called vanishing point lines. The official name for them is orthogonal lines. They're called orthogonal lines too. So let's point, I'm going to make a little arrow there. Orthogonal lines or vanishing point lines, because they go toward the vanishing point. Okay, so let's shade this. So if the sun is over here, then which side is going to be the darker side? This side right over here on the right side, or this left side? The left side. So whatever you do, just make sure that this shade here is darker than this shade, and it could be however dark you want to make it. So the camera, I hate this light, it's just so blinky. Okay, let me just use this light instead. Okay. So that's like a medium. You don't have to spend all this time making it super dark. I just want to make sure that this part here is a little lighter. So how can we go a little lighter? What can we do to switch up the shading on here and make it lighter?
Less pressure.
Less pressure. All you have to do is just use less pressure and then you're done. It should be just real quick. There, that's it. So, all right, that's it. If you want to do a shadow, you can use the vanishing point. See these vanishing point lines? And just kind of extend them from these two, the bottom corners of the front of the cube. Just extend that, and then that is going to be where how the shadow will fall. It looks really skinny, doesn't it, from this angle? But it's because we're looking at it from an extreme angle. And if you want to kind of end the shadow, you can have it either fade off, or you can have it just like stop. This is how you end the shadow. The bottom of the square is just a horizontal line, right? So you're going to have to use your ruler and then end it with just another horizontal line. It's going to be kind of weird looking like that, but that's because we're looking at it at an extreme angle. And then if you want to make the shadow really dark, go ahead so that it looks different from your cube and so that it doesn't look like it's a part of the cube. You can make the shadow really, really dark. But I am making the shadow slightly lighter as I go out, because the shadow has that thing going on where it's the umbra, the antumbra, and the penumbra. It should be a little darker right underneath your object. So that's it. That's all you need to do. So now you got a little shadow action. Okay, is everyone here or do you need more time?
Time.
Okay. Okay.
Do we have to draw the shadow?
I would. Yeah, I would, because you should draw shadows in our assignment that's coming up. Okay, because here I have some shadows here. You see how realistic that is with the shadow? Without a shadow, it's just not looking real. It just doesn't have that, that weight.
Which line do we extend for the shadow again?
It is the vanishing point lines. You see these vanishing point lines right here? It's that same line, you just extend it to the left of the cube. And just use this point right here at the bottom of this line in the middle. And draw a point right here at the end of the line that makes this very left-hand line. Right here, and you could line that up with vanishing point 1 and do it that way too. Just extend that line out, but it's just a continuation of this line right here, and then this one is a new line. That you should use a point right at the bottom of this line that makes up the very left-hand line that forms the cube. If you line it up with vanishing point 1 and just extend that out, you will get this line here. And then this line right here is just a horizontal line, parallel to the horizon. This is a horizontal line, that's a horizontal line, this is also a horizontal line. We want to draw another cube, but it's going to be under the horizon line. So anywhere under the horizon line, so why don't we put one kind of in the middle and below the center of the paper. So let's draw a cube right over here. It could be a smaller square. Doesn't have to be the same size, it could be smaller. And we're just doing this to find out, okay, how changing the position of the cube in relation to the horizon line, what that does. We want to discover what that does for us, how we should draw it when we change the position of the cube. So that's my rough drawing. So now what I'm going to do is take my little paper ruler and I'm going to put in my good lines and just draw those good lines a little darker. So I press really hard and I press dark so that when I erase, I'm just left with the lines that, you know, I really press down hard on the paper. So there's my new cube. That's going to be the next one. And so I'm going to draw.
Can you do that again? Can you do the, just show me.
Okay.
Do the second square.
Okay, the second square is kind of positioned in the middle of the paper, but below the horizon line. So you can put it anywhere below the horizon line and just kind of keep it away from the first cube that you drew. All right, so to the right of this cube, slightly to the right and kind of below the center line here. Okay, and just draw a box, or I mean a square for now. And then I want you guys to look at the top of this square. Just draw 2 points there at the top of each of these lines, okay? Or at the corners of the top of the box. And then also this lower right hand corner right over there. I want you to draw these 2 points. This one, and this one. And draw some vanishing point lines. Very lightly to vanishing point 1. So I'm going to use my little ruler and I'm going to connect the dots basically like that. Okay. Like that. Okay, now you kind of see something a little different. Because it's below your eye level, you can see up and over the top of this box. That's the difference between the view of something at eye level and the view of something below eye level. You should be able to look down onto the top of the box and see it. So I want to make sure that this box doesn't go on like forever. So I just want to draw a horizontal line here and then a vertical line. So these are just vertical and horizontal lines, not anything fancy. They're just, the horizontal line is parallel to the horizon line. Try to keep it parallel so that it's not like going out at some kind of weird angle like that. Just be careful, you don't want that. And then this line here, you should try to make that perfectly straight up and down, the best you can. So I'm going to try to make that line a little neater using my ruler. And then this one here also. And then I'm going to just make these lines here dotted, all my orthogonal lines. Orthogonal, vanishing point lines, same thing. Now I'm going to start thinking about the shading situation, but before that, why don't we extend this line right over here from this corner out and extend this orthogonal or vanishing point line like this to create the shadow for this cube. So we're just going to line up this corner and point at this corner with the vanishing point 1 like that and extend a line outward. And then from this corner with vanishing point 1, extend a line outward, and then just end it with like with a horizontal line. That would be good, and keep it parallel to the edge of your paper so it looks nice, like that. The paper is working really well, except sometimes when you press too hard, you get a little weird, wonky line. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to shade my shadow, make it really dark, but I'm not gonna do a super neat job of it because I have to still do one more cube on this exercise, and that one's gonna be floating up in the air like that, and then we'll see how that, changes the view and what sides of the cube you can see when it's up in the air. So I'm just gonna kind of fade that shadow out. And I know it looks really messy right now because all my lines, all my shading is like outside the lines. But that's okay because with your ruler, I'm going to show you a trick. I've shown this to you already. I cover up what I don't want to erase and then just run my eraser right along the edge. And then boom, nice and clean. Let's do the same thing with this side. Just erase what you don't want to keep. Nice and clean, right? Do the same thing here. Cover up your work that you want to not erase and then just erase around it or erase to the outside of it. So that's good. That's good. Now we have to think about what side is going to be the darker side on this cube. So it's always going to be the side facing out toward us. So this is going to be dark. Okay. I want to say, let's just make the top here light and let's make the side medium. Okay. If you want to do that thing where we did the transitions in tone, you may, or you could just keep it light, medium, and dark. It's up to you. So I just want to make sure that this dark side is not the same value as my shadow so that they kind of run into each other and look like they're a part of each other. How do you create a shadow if an object is floating? Will it cast a shadow? Yes, it will cast a shadow. And it'll probably be down here, right? What is the shape of that shadow going to be? That's going to be a hard one. I think that the video that we saw, the one that just had the lady drawing, I think her name was Candy Brush. I don't know. Her name was Candy Brush. That's her YouTube name. It could be her real name. I mean, I don't want to disrespect the lady. But she also had a video about how to draw shadows, in perspective. So you might want to check out some of her videos on that. That's a very specific one. For me, I feel like with this one, the shadow probably follows the orthogonal lines and the shadow probably goes something like this. I would think. And then the shadow here would just probably be something that follows orthogonal lines and it's going to look like a parallelogram or something like that on the ground. I'm sure that there is a formula for that. Maybe this end is going to be a little bit skinnier and this end is definitely going to be a little wider because it's in perspective too. So I'm sure that that follows, but it's up to you if you want to make the shadow or not, but it's definitely going to add more realism to your drawing. So if you want to go over that more neatly, you could do that. But put it approximately somewhere below. Maybe we could extend these lines down. That would be a good idea if we could kind of extend these lines down to figure out where the shadow should be. There we go. And then there's probably a line here at this corner. So it's probably going to be like that. Okay. I know, it's not easy. When I take my hand away, it's going to get clearer. So you could do like an approximate thing, just so that there's a shadow right below your box, you know, or close by. It looks like it's below your box, something like that. And then you could also do the typical cast shadow over here by just extending from this corner here with the vanishing point. And from this corner, use the vanishing point dot. You could extend the shadow out that way. And then do your dark to light shading like that. The shadow does make a big difference in making it look more realistic. Okay. So probably with this one, it would be like darker to lighter, because over here, you know, it's going to probably catch a little bit more sun. Something like that. This is a drafting brush, but it's like a couple bucks, like $5 or something at Michael's, or got it at AC Moore. So if you want one of these, that's fine, but you could always buy a little dust brush from the dollar store, you know, the kind that comes with the little thing that you scoop up the little dustpan, and it's just even better because then you have a little dustpan. So if you do a lot of drawing, you might want to get a little brush here so that you can just like clean up afterwards later. So I got this from the dollar store. This is what I'm talking about. This is just $1. Works even better than the art one, I think. So if you have something like that, it's just for future artists, you know, if you want to do a lot of drawing, get one of those guys. Now I'm going to shade my medium value. Just all with the number 2 pencil. I'm not, you know, but if you have your nice drawing pencils, go ahead. You could switch to a harder pencil if you want, or you could just stick with the same pencil and just press less hard. That's all. And then over here, I'm just going to make a really light value by pressing the lightest up here for the top of my box like that. And that's it. Now, the last thing that we're going to draw on this 1-point perspective cubes drawing is going to be up here. And actually, I'm going to clean this up with an eraser and just use my little paper. I'm going to show you the trick. I already showed this to you earlier, but you could just lay the paper down and then use an eraser, and it gives you a nice, clean, sharp edge. See that? Nice, clean, sharp edge. Okay. And right over here. Ooh, I think that angle was probably incorrect, so now I can correct my angle too. Ooh, that was not right. Now that looks much better. So that was like that. I was way off on that one. There we go. All right. So now we got shadows. So what it does is it gives these objects a lot more 3D effect and presence. They seem to have more visual mass and weight to us. So you can't feel the weight, but you can imagine, you know. If they didn't have the shadow, it just would not be as realistic. So now let's draw a box that's floating up in the air. And we may not be able to draw the shadow on for that one unless we put it over here somewhere. But I don't want to block the sun. And I don't want to rewrite this over again, I don't think. So let's just put it up in the air. And it's going to be above the big box. So we'll just draw a little rough drawing, just freehand first, just to figure out how that's gonna look. Okay. Is that too close to the box? I'll still be able to see it. Okay. But I don't think I'm going to be able to draw the shadow because the shadow is probably going to be behind that big box. Okay, so we lucked out there. Maybe if I put the box over here on the left a little bit more, we could have seen the shadow for that guy, but I didn't. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean up the sides of my box, make them look straighter by using my little paper ruler. And when I do that, I see that it's held parallel to the edge of the paper. That's how I get my lines to be straight up and down. Okay, like that. So I was off when I was sketching. See that? So when I use the ruler, I can fix all those problems. When I press really hard and I'm actually pushing the pencil tip kind of into the paper, and then I go to erase, all the lighter lines are erased except for the ones that I pressed very hard on, so those are left behind. If I put a point right here and drew a line to the vanishing point, it would go through the box and I would have to erase that. So I'm not going to bother drawing that vanishing point line. I could draw this one here because that will show up. So I'll draw a point right there. I could draw one here, and I could definitely use one and draw a line from there. So those 3 points. But this one, no, because it would just be inside of my box and I would just erase it anyway. So there's no point to drawing that one. So from those 3 points, let's draw to the vanishing point. From this corner to vanishing point 1, and then from this corner to vanishing point 1. Like that. So I'm definitely now seeing the underside here. That's this area right here. In this perspective, I could see the underside of the cube. And I need to make the cube look like a cube, so I need a vertical line somewhere, and I'm just going to lightly sketch it to see if I like it here, right there. And then a horizontal line from where that one ends, draw a horizontal line going across. Okay, so something like that. It's going to look like that. I'm going to go over my lines with my little paper ruler here, make them dark. Keep my ruler here, the edge parallel with the edge of the paper and parallel with all of these other horizontal lines. Okay? And then erase all my sketch lines. These vanishing point lines, I'm going to lighten them up and then just make them into dotted lines. I can still see them. And just like, you know, when your math teachers draw those diagrams, geometry diagrams, I'm just going to make these vanishing point lines like the dotted lines they use. Just so that I know, you know, that they're there and what they are. And that they're not a part of the cube. Okay, like that. Okay. And I think I'll do that to the rest of these too. So I'm going to take the next couple minutes to catch up to this point here. I'm going to stop and I'm just going to take some time to make my vanishing point lines just dotted lines. So we're right here. Now for those of you who are ready to go on, we're just going to do the same thing as we did and make the front here the darkest side. So that's going to be dark. Let's make the underside medium. Why don't we make that the lightest? So dark for the face of the cube, medium for the underside, and then why don't we make the lightest value here? So I'm just using some scribble shading to just throw some shading down. And what's important with this shading is it just looks even. Try to just make it look like all one value. So there's no light or dark parts. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it just has to look like one shade. So if there's any kind of lighter areas, just fill them in. Okay. So this is how to draw a shadow of something that's floating in the air. It's not really as hard as you might think. So what you need to do is draw a line, go to the side of the square right here and draw a very, very light line. Very, very light line straight down. Go to this side and draw a line straight down. So the front of the shadow is going to be somewhere here. Okay. Where exactly it could be down here, that's the hard part, to figure out like how far down it should be. But it should definitely be sitting on the ground here. And if I put it too far back, it's not going to make any sense. So why don't we put it right over here? And let's just try this. The back of the shadow is going to be over here. Okay. So basically we are kind of drawing a rectangle in perspective, and then we're going to drop this line here too. Nope, that didn't leave any mark. Something like that. So these are the four guidelines that are coming from the corners of my box up there. So then I would draw a line from here to this line. Okay, this line I think I need to drop down a little further. From here to this line, straight across, a horizontal line, and then this line is going to be behind this box. So if I drew through the box, then this line should go from here to here. Okay, and that line is dropped down from the corner right here. Okay, so all you have to do is drop the vertical lines from the sides of this box, the vertical sides, and it will kind of show you where to draw the shadow for this particular box that's up in the air. And then if there's another box, like in this case, in front of it, don't draw it, because the object that's in the front should be what you see. So you can't see the shadow through this box because we're not drawing clear plastic boxes that you can see through. All our stuff, we're going to say, is solid. Okay, so I'm just going to put the little bit of shading right back on there, and then I'm going to go from dark to light. Why am I going dark to light here with this front edge being dark? Because the sun is over here, and I would say the sunlight would make this back edge here start to lighten up. So I would go from dark right here in the front and then fade it to light. I'm going to go over my lines with a paper ruler to just make them a little neater. Okay, because I was just freehanding these lines. Okay. That. And then all these little guidelines I can erase, or you could just keep it if you want. I mean, these are kind of like notes also for yourself. So it's up to you. If it bothers you, you can erase it, or you could just leave it. There we go. So that's how the shadow for the floating box should go. So now this because of the way we drew this shadow, the box is grounded. It's sitting on the ground now. So that's what the effect of this new shadow has on the box. We use vanishing point lines to draw that shadow. If you wanted to keep it looking like it was floating, it would have been correct. But this box's shadow was kind of in the way. So, you know, I just wanted to make it look like it's just sitting on the ground over there. This box is smaller than this box, but so what? It could be smaller. We have big boxes and small boxes in this world, right? So it's a smaller box, but it's the one closest to us. And then this box here is pretty large, but it's up in the air, and you can tell by the position of the shadow. The shadow lets you know that this box is in front of that box. And this is actually a much bigger box, but it's further back than this one here. So it's giving you a lot of information just because of the placement of the shadow also. The shadow provides information.